Hey everyone, hope you're having a great day and welcome to another video on the channel. And in today's video, I'm going to help you get it set up with Spell Fusion. I'm going to explain the systems, how it works, and at the end of the video, I will be recommending what spells you should run and what schools you should weave into. First things first, I'm also going to give you the Archmastery tutorial for the game, and he will also give you the Rochambeau tutorial a bit later on down the line, which then you will get led into the magic weaving. So you head over to Diego in Unicorn Way and beat the Archmastery tutorial right here. It is just like all of the previous tutorials before in the game. And please do keep in mind as well, you cannot start these tutorials until you are at least level 50. Same thing with the fusions. So I'm going to skip ahead this part because I obviously know what, Archmastery is. But if you guys want to learn about it, just simply do this tutorial, read what they have to say. It is a very good, thorough tutorial. Would recommend paying attention to the details. Next, you're going to beat these burglars. Now, they are very easy to beat if you are max level, but I believe they are like level 50 difficulty, since that's when you start all of this stuff typically. And here's one of my favorite parts about the test realm. You can essentially just explore this entire area and look for clues with the inspector. I wasn't expecting anything like this in the next update, but honestly, I like little puzzles like this, just kind of like investigating things. Personally, I really like that stuff. In general, a nice thing about this update is there's like multiple choice, right? Like I can go in this room and look at different things, and also a bit down the line in Selenopolis, you'll have multiple, choices to go out and do things. Anyways, you want to hit this one in the back right corner here, which is the Celestia moon looking thing. Then we have one more quest line here in Marleybone before we get down to the pretty cool stuff, guys. After we're done there, we're going to simply go back and talk to the professor. Then the professor will finally send us to the Oasis and obviously into Selenopolis. So we're finally getting somewhere. So you'll talk to the Mander guy right in front of you here outside of the door, and then you're going to turn around right as you get into the Oasis and take this ship to Selenopolis. This area is absolutely beautiful. I am a little far ahead in the questline right now, so just ignore these people right now. But anyways, there are a lot of cool things in this area. Like, just look at the statues and like the school symbols. It looks amazing. There are tons of Easter eggs as well. I'll probably make that into my own separate video, and I'm gonna try and make some short form content for y'all on the channel as well, and really stay busy this update. I really want to focus the channel more on like PvE and ways, and not be so like focused on PvP. Don't get me wrong, I love PvP, I'm very competitive, but at the same time, Wiz is a very, casual PvE game that I should probably tap into and acknowledge. So yeah, this is the area right here where you can train and look at all the new spells along with the new trees and the one giant tree in the middle, if that was not apparent enough. But anyways, come to the back left here and talk to this croc guy again. And right here is where you will have the magic wheel or the Rochambeau tutorial. And I encourage you guys to please read the dialogue here and actually acknowledge your school's identity. Again, I have videos on my channel. This tutorial will help you explain the new school identities of Wiz that changed a couple years ago, and it will also help you understand where the game is going in the future. So once you're done with the Rochambeau tutorial, you can talk to any of these 6 other trees that is not your school. So for example, I'm on a storm. I cannot select storm as a weaving path, but if I go to death, I can select it as my weaving school. Now, keep in mind, this is a one-time thing. You can only do one school at a time. The devs did say you are going to be able to switch it in the future or a little further on, but the first school you pick and weave into, you have to be very careful on what you choose. I believe you'll be able to upgrade all of the levels, so like you could get level 3 on the death tree, then move to balance, and so on and so forth. You kind of jump between them later on. So again, it's important to keep in mind the Rochambeau wheel when you're picking what school you want to weave into. You could either go and synergize with things. So I'm on a storm, which means I could synergize with death or life, or I could go the counter, the counter route, which kind of is meta in PvP and not really look to synergize, but look more so to cover bases and stuff like that. I encourage you to look through all of these spells and really find which one suits your playstyle. For PvE players, I'm gonna have to recommend either the Death Tree, the Balance Tree, the Ice Tree. The Myth one also isn't terrible as well. Fire one, I would say, is probably the worst for PvE players. The Life one does give you access to new auras. Now, are they better in PvE than the current ones we have, which is stuff like Frenzy? In my opinion, no, not really. But for PvP, they are okay. And also, the Storm Tree is really good for buffs as well. So pretty much every tree is good for PvE except for the Fire one, and the Life one is kind of mid. Now let's talk PvP. So generally, right now, we're not really too focused on school synergy. We're more focused on covering bases and the weaknesses within your school and like packing the counters, right? So instead of going with Death or Life, because those get countered by Ice, Myth, and Death, we're gonna look through every tree and see what we can find. Now, to my knowledge, there's 2 school spells per tree. So for this one, I have a Tornado Blade, and I have the Balanced Stormlord. Both of these seem really bad, don't seem that good. The Ice Tree has a pretty cool trap, but you don't really want that in PvP unless you're doing like a stacking PvE strat. What is cool though is the Chillzilla card. I can clear 2 overtimes and then put on 2 shields, which honestly is not a terrible card. I feel like that if the spell was like lower pips to counter like Frostbite, Poison, it wouldn't be terrible, but generally not really worth it. You already have good overtime counters on a Storm. For Myth, we have the Quake Trap, which I think is honestly actually kind of good. You get a 40 Storm Trap and a Myth Trap. So you can buff up 2 hits at once, and they are actually very potent buffs as well. With the buff to Dual School this update and like the Pierce Jewels, I think this honestly might be the route to go for Storm. And this right here is probably hands down the best spell for Storm Wizards in this update. Now, currently the meta is to duel into fire because Shield Gambits are still OP to this day. But this spell is really good. Now, as for fire, I had some pretty high expectations for this one, but these spells are pretty bad. You gambit like 2 weaknesses for a Storm Dot and Fire Dots, which, I mean, it sets up a Scion in 1 turn. I guess it's kind of cool. I just don't really see this working though. If the Storm Dot lasted longer, maybe it could be decent. And the other spell we have is Lightning Goon, which is a Storm and a Fire Dot that lasts 4 rounds. Again, I don't think this is really that great. And lastly, for the Life Tree, we do have Flood Amplify, which is a buff to life hits, which we're probably not going to be running, and a 30% Storm buff aura. But keep in mind, the issue with this spell is the fact that a lot of people are expecting a ping pong aura meta, very similar to Bubble Fighting. And if you have to spend 1 pip for this, but the other opponent can spend 0 pips to remove it and gain tempo, again, net negative, probably not really worth it. Green Serpent is a pretty cool card. You can hit and then clear 3 traps for weaknesses on the opponent. I think this is honestly a really good trap counter for a Storm, but I think the issue is the trap counters you already have on a Storm kind of suffice. But if we ever see a hard trap meta on the Storm, you could simply just swap to the Life Weaving Tree and run the spell. It'll probably kick ass. But in my opinion, there has to be a clear winner here, and that is going to be the Old Sage, the Myth Tree. This one, I'm going to go with it simply because the spell you have from it, which is the Myth Siren, is just insanely good. Now, shield counters aren't that great on a dual school like Myth right now, but, you know, maybe we can make something work. If we can make it work, this would be really solid for Storms. Once you pick your Weaving School, they will give you a quest to do and follow. And do keep in mind, if you want to switch your Weaving School, you can simply just talk to your tree and then go ahead and select the Weaving School, and it will ask you if you want to lose all your spells and, you know, get detached from this tree. Also, once you do this, you can look at your profile page and you can see I have a Myth symbol beside my Storm symbol, and I'm called a Quake Weaver, which is kind of funny. Next up on the quest line, you'll be given a quest to go out and battle something. In this case, we are on the Storm Myth quest line, so I have to battle Mr. Grizzleboard the Unsociable, which is a pretty funny name. But this is a weird fight because you actually cannot kill him until he gives you a spell to kill him with. Okay, so that's a very, very important detail here. In this fight, I'm gonna get a lot of blades up for myth and traps. And on like round 6, he will give me a spell, which is an item card, Stone Colossus, to actually kill him with. Now, if you're a low level player, I'm not sure if you'll be able to do this because he does hit pretty hard. It's a pretty difficult fight, I will say. But if you are maxed out, just be sure that you have pins available to you, and that should help you out quite a bit. At the end of this fight, you will get a jewel for your dual school, and you will also get some of the yarn that is used to actually craft the dual school pierce jewels at your respected tree. Once you're done this part, you'll head back to the tree and you will talk to the book. Now, please be careful with this book because I sped through it my first time and the book tells you in detail what you have to do and what your quest line is. Your actual quest doesn't really do that. And if you go through the book quickly, like I did, you actually can't go back in and see what you have to do, which is why I had to get my friend Blaine on actually to do the entire quest to figure out what the dialogue in the book was for me to actually make this video. But essentially, it's pretty straightforward. You're gonna beat the neck and bit fights in Krakotopia in the entrance hall, I think it's called, or the Hall of Champions, I think it might be called. Then you're gonna go to the Grand Arena and also fight some spiders there as well. Now, on Test Realm, there's only one, thankfully, but they do have it like 15 and 60, which I hope they don't put that to Live Realm. I think that's a little too much, in my opinion. I feel like maybe like 10 on the boss and like 30 on the minions would be plenty enough. Anything more than that is just kind of excessive and just too mind-numbing of a grind, in my opinion. The fish, you have to be very careful. At least on this quest line, it is very, very buggy. Okay, guys, I had to do God's work to do this. Basically, the fountain or whatever in the oasis is bugged. You can't actually fish there. So I went to the Arrow Village and I got my 3 fish there because the wiki said you can get them in the Arrow Village or oasis. So I got my 3 fish, but it didn't actually count towards my progression because I wasn't in Krakotopia. I was in the Arrow Village. So I could not actually beat the quest. So I had to go back to Krakotopia and essentially find a way to fix this bug myself or, you know, figure out a solution. Now, what I found is if you set the pond, there'll be one fish that will spawn for about 5 seconds and you have to get on top of that fish, put your lure down on it, like right in front of its trajectory, and then basically do that over and over until you actually get the fish you want. Now, of course, there's a lot of different fish in that little pond. There's like balance, fire, like 3 different kinds of fish per school. It's absolutely insane. It took me 20 minutes with this strategy just to get the one fish I need. And Live Realm, when they fix this bug, obviously it won't be that hard. You could just simply look up the fish, what kind of school it is, what kind of rank it is, and use your fishing utilities to speed up the process. But in Test Realm right now, you have to do God's work and level up your fishing and do all this tedious, buggy stuff like I just said in the video here. Very, very annoying, but that should be fixed when it rolls out to Live Realm. Then once you're done that, you'll go back to the tree. He will give you your first dual school pierce jewel, and you'll be on to your next quest line. So congratulations, you're now a level 1 Weaver. Now for level 2, you're going to do the pre-quest in Marleybone this time around, and you'll meet this rat looking guy. He's like a myth rat, pretty cool guy. I like his personality quite a bit, but essentially you are going to go talk to people, and then you're going to go and fight some people with the rats. Now, the key to these fights is you are not allowed to hit similar to the Death Stone Colossus fight prior to it. You have to let the minion kill. So all you have to do is stay alive and try and help and support your minion, like buff him up depending on the school he is, right? And let him do the work. So you have to do a fight with the big moose or whatever, and then one with Josie right after that. Pretty fun, honestly. It was kind of different. It took me a while to figure out what the actual cheat was. Once you're done with that fight, you'll go back to the tree, and the tree will tell you to talk to the book. And the book will give you, again, 4 new quests. This time around, we have to defeat Grave Phantoms, Lockpick O'Larry. Both of those people can be found in the Newgate prison in Marleybone. You can help people quest in an adventure party in Marleybone or catch 3 royal grenards in Buckingham Palace. So again, pretty easy. What I did was the Grave Phantoms and Lockpick O'Leary because they're both in the same area. Then I went out and did Royal Grenards in the Buckingham Palace. Again, depending on your fish, what school you're weaving into and your school, simply look up the name of the fish online on the wiki. It'll tell you what kind of school it is, what kind of rank it is, and then you can again filter out the pawns until you get what you need. Now for the level 3 weaver, things get a little more complicated. This one is including polymorphs. Now basically, my dungeon had 2 mob fights and a boss fight. These were all very tough fights to do. They're fun nonetheless, but it got a bit frustrating after a while. The only gimmick to this one is the fact of the matter that like you're in a polymorph. There's not really any cheats you have to abide by unlike the past 2 levels of the weaving. So just simply beat all of these guys and move on. But when you do beat the dungeon, you get granted 70 yarn at the end, which is quite a bit, but I'm not sure it's worth the time investment. I think you're probably better off going a different route to farm the yarn. Also, pro tip, you can actually buy a henchman in these fights. I didn't really know until the last one, until my friend actually suggested it to me. But you can buy henchmen in these fights to actually speed them up if you want to. Once you're done here, you'll head back to the tree and the book, and then you'll have to go to Mushu and try and get some mullet fishes. You can also help 12 noobs with 12 quests or whatnot. Or you can go ahead and look for the Dishonored Samurais and Kyoto, I think his name is, how you pronounce that. And I just, again, did the fish, the Kyoto, and the Dishonored Samurais. And that's pretty much it from there. You just turn in the quest, you're a level 3 weaver. You can get both your new spells and your dual school pierce jewels, and you know where to farm for the yarns now. So it is pretty tedious. I would like to see KI maybe, lower the numbers a bit for the boss fight, mob fight, and, the fish. They're pretty annoying to get as well. So I wouldn't mind those numbers going down a little bit. But, yeah, I mean, I had a good time doing this. I've been up all night, though, honestly, guys, recording, editing this video, trying to get this content out for y'all. So if you made it this far, please leave a like and a sub. I worked my ass off for this, and I really hope it can help a lot of people because I've been getting so confused in Test Realm. I'm not gonna lie. That's why I've been up all night, because I know I'm not the only one feeling this way, and I wanted to get this video out to try and help you guys who are probably dealing with similar bugs in Test Realm, and some of these might make it into Live Realm as well, right? So hopefully this video helps you guys out, and yeah, I will see you guys on the next one. Thank you for watching. Take care.